January 29th, 1945. 2:47 p.m. Holzheim, Belgium. First Sergeant Leonard Funk steps around the corner of a frozen farmhouse and walks straight into death. 90 German soldiers are staring at him. Some already have rifles in their hands. Others are grabbing weapons from a pile on the ground. Machine guns are being positioned. Orders are being shouted. 4 American soldiers are kneeling in the snow with their hands locked behind their heads. 20 minutes earlier, those Germans were prisoners of war, captured during the assault on this village, disarmed, guarded by only 4 Americans, because that was all Company C could spare. Now they are free. Now they are armed. Now they are preparing to attack the Americans from behind. A German officer steps forward. He jams an MP-40 submachine gun into Funk's stomach and starts screaming. Funk doesn't understand a word. The officer screams louder, face red, veins bulging, spittle flying. Funk looks at the gun pressed into his gut, looks at his 4 men on their knees, looks at 90 enemy soldiers, and then Leonard Funk starts laughing. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. If you're holding your phone right now or watching this on your screen, have you subscribed yet? If you haven't, do it now. Subscribe to World War II Dark Secrets. The German officer freezes. This is not how prisoners behave. They beg, they plead, they don't laugh. Funk laughs harder. The officer screams again, furious now, completely thrown off. What happens next will take less than 1 minute. 21 German soldiers will be dead. More than 40 will surrender again. And Leonard Funk will perform one of the most violent, improbable acts of close-quarters combat in World War II. But to understand why he laughed with a gun in his stomach, you have to understand where Leonard Funk came from. Leonard Alfred Funk Jr. was born on August 27, 1916 in Braddock Township, Pennsylvania, a steel town. Smokestacks, foundries, the Monongahela River running black with industrial runoff. This was not a place that produced softness. The men here worked with fire and iron. They learned endurance early or they didn't last. Funk grew up fast. His father died when Leonard was still young, leaving him responsible for helping raise his younger brother. By the time he graduated high school in 1934, the Great Depression was in its 5th brutal year. Jobs were scarce. College was a fantasy. Survival was the priority. Leonard Funk went to work. In June 1941, with war already tearing Europe and Asia apart, Congress expanded the draft. Funk's number came up. He reported to the induction center in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. He was 24 years old, 5'5", 140 pounds. The Army physical examiner probably saw a clerk, maybe a supply man, rear area material. They were wrong. Leonard Funk volunteered for the paratroopers. In 1941, American airborne forces barely existed. The idea of jumping out of an aircraft into enemy territory sounded insane to most soldiers. The men who volunteered were different. Airborne training was designed to break you. 5 weeks of relentless physical punishment, running until collapse, climbing ropes until your hands bled, jumping until your knees screamed. Half the candidates washed out. Then came the towers, then the planes. The first time you step out of a C-47 at 1,200 feet, every instinct tells you to grab the doorframe and hold on. The ground is too far away. Your parachute is just fabric and cord and hope. Funk stepped out anyway. He earned his jump wings and was assigned to Company C, 1st Battalion, 508th Paratrooper Regiment. Late 1943, the regiment shipped to England. They joined the 82nd Airborne Division, veterans, men who had already jumped into Sicily and Italy, men who had already killed, men who had already buried friends. Funk was the new guy. At 27, he was considered old for a paratrooper. Most of the men around him were barely 20, but Funk had something they didn't: steadiness, a calm under pressure that made people listen when he spoke. By D-Day, he was a squad leader. First, he had to survive Normandy. June 6th, 1:30 a.m. The C-47 shudders as flak explodes around it. Funk stands in the stick, waiting to jump. 60 pounds of gear drag at his body. A Thompson submachine gun, grenades, ammunition, medical kit. The aircraft is flying too low, 400 feet. The pilots can't climb. German anti-aircraft fire fills the sky. Tracers slash through the darkness. The green light snaps on. Funk jumps. The prop blast hits him like a wall. Then the parachute opens. Silence. Below him is occupied France. Enemy territory in every direction. The airborne landings are chaos from the first second. Paratroopers are scattered across 50 miles of countryside. Men land in flooded fields and drown under the weight of their gear. Others land inside German positions and die before they can cut themselves free. Funk hits the ground hard. His ankle twists violently. The pain is immediate. It's badly sprained, possibly fractured. For the next 2 weeks, every step is agony. But he can walk, and he can fight. So he does. He buries his parachute and starts moving. He is 40 miles from his drop zone, alone. By dawn, he has gathered other lost paratroopers, men from different units, different regiments, 18 in total. They need leadership. Funk gives it to them. For 10 days, Funk leads that group through German-held territory. They move at night, hide during the day, fight when they have to. Despite his injured ankle, he insists on walking point. He puts himself in the most dangerous position to protect his men. On June 17th, they reach Allied lines. Every man survives. Not one casualty. 10 days, 40 miles, enemy territory. Leonard Funk brings them all home. For that, he earns the Silver Star. And the war is only beginning.
September 17th, 1944. Holland. Operation Market Garden begins with the roar of engines and the snap of parachutes. 35,000 Allied paratroopers drop into the Netherlands. British, American, Polish. The plan is bold, almost reckless. Seize a chain of bridges stretching 64 miles. Hold them long enough for armored columns to punch through. Cross the Rhine. End the war by Christmas. Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery believes speed will compensate for risk. He is wrong. The Germans are waiting. SS Panzer divisions, units that intelligence insists are nowhere near the drop zones, are sitting exactly where the paratroopers land. At Arnhem, the British 1st Airborne Division is surrounded almost immediately. 9 days of street fighting follow. When it ends, only 2,000 of 10,000 British paratroopers escape. The rest are killed or captured. A bridge too far. Leonard Funk doesn't know any of this. He only knows his mission: secure the drop zone, protect the landings, kill Germans. Company C hits the ground and moves fast. Initial objectives are taken without heavy resistance. Then, Funk notices something that shouldn't be happening. Incoming Allied gliders are taking fire. Heavy fire. 3 German 20mm flak guns are dug in on high ground. They're firing directly into the glider lanes. Each glider carries men, vehicles, artillery, medical supplies. If those guns keep firing, hundreds of Americans and British will die before they even touch the ground. Funk doesn't wait for orders. He doesn't have time. He grabs 3 men. That's it. 4 Americans against a fortified position. Approximately 20 German soldiers manning the guns. Sandbags. camouflage, interlocking fields of fire. Doctrine says you need a 3-to-1 advantage to assault a prepared position. Funk has the opposite. He attacks anyway. Leading from the front, Funk charges the position. They hit the security detachment first. Close range, violent, fast. The Germans never get organized. Funk and his men storm the gun pits. Grenades, gunfire, screaming. One gun goes silent, then another, then the third. 20 Germans are dead or fleeing. 3 Americans are still standing. The guns stop firing. The gliders land. For this, Leonard Funk earns the Distinguished Service Cross, second highest decoration for valor in the U.S. Army. Most soldiers never see one. Funk now has a Silver Star and a DCS. He keeps going. December 16th, 1944, the Ardennes Forest. The Germans launched their last gamble. 3 armies, 400,000 men, 1,400 tanks. They crash into thin American lines in freezing weather. The goal is Antwerp. Split the Allied armies, force a negotiated peace in the West, turn everything against the Soviets. It almost works. Entire American units collapse. Thousands surrender. The front buckles inward. A 50-mile bulge forms in the Allied line. The Battle of the Bulge, the largest battle the U.S. Army will ever fight. 89,000 American casualties. The cold is merciless. Temperatures drop below zero. Men freeze in foxholes. Weapons jam. Engines refuse to start. Cold kills almost as efficiently as bullets. And then comes Malmedy. December 17th, 1944. A convoy from the 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion runs into the spearhead of SS Camp Group Piper. Rear echelon Americans, observers, radio operators. They are no match for tanks and armored infantry. After a brief fight, 113 Americans surrender. They're herded into a snowy field, disarmed, hands up, prisoners of war. Then the SS opens fire. Machine guns, pistols, rifles. Men fall screaming. Those who try to run are shot in the back. Those who fall wounded are executed with bullets to the head. 84 Americans die in that field. Some survive by playing dead. They lie in the snow for hours. German boots walk past them. German voices laugh. When darkness falls, 43 survivors crawl away. The news spreads like wildfire. The Germans are executing prisoners, murdering them. The old rules vanish overnight. American soldiers swear they will never surrender to the SS. Some units quietly pass down orders. No SS prisoners. When Leonard Funk hears about Malmedy, something inside him hardens. He has already seen too much. Normandy, Holland, friends dying across Europe. But this is different. This is execution. Cold-blooded murder of surrendered men. Leonard Funk makes a decision. He will never surrender, no matter the cost. January 1945. The German offensive is broken. Now the Allies push back. Company C 508th Paratrooper Infantry receives orders to take a small Belgian village, Holzheim. There's a problem. Company C is under strength. The executing officer is dead. There aren't enough riflemen. Funk is now acting executing officer. He looks at the roster. Then he looks at the rear area personnel, clerks, supply men, cooks, men who have never fired at another human being. Funk doesn't hesitate. You're infantry now, he tells them. Grab your weapons. They form a makeshift platoon, 30 men. They march 15 miles through waist-deep snow. A blizzard tears at them. German artillery shells burst nearby. Funk leads from the front. They reach Holzheim. House by house, Funk takes the village. 15 buildings, Germans in every one. Room clearing, grenades, close-range gunfire. When it's over, 30 Germans are prisoners. Another 20 units capture 50 more. 80 prisoners total. They're corralled in a farmhouse yard. Funk can spare only 4 guards. He leaves to finish clearing the village, and behind him, everything starts to unravel.
While Leonard Funk is still clearing the far end of Holzheim, a German patrol moves toward the farmhouse. 10 men, maybe 20. They're wearing white camouflage capes, In the snow, at a distance, they look almost identical to American troops. The four guards don't realize the mistake until it's too late. The Germans rush them. Rifles swing, butts strike faces, weapons are knocked away. The Americans are forced to their knees, hands behind their heads. Then the Germans free the prisoners. 80 men, now 90. They grab weapons from the pile, rifles, submachine guns, machine guns. They organize with terrifying speed. These are not panicked conscripts. These are combat soldiers. The officer in charge begins issuing orders. Machine guns here, rifles there, wait for the signal. Their plan is simple. Hit Company C from behind. The Americans are scattered through the village. If 90 Germans attack now, it will be a slaughter. That's when Leonard Funk walks around the corner. He has come to check on the prisoners. Routine. He expects tired men, hungry men, defeated men. Instead, he freezes. His guards are on their knees. 90 armed Germans stand in front of him. For a moment, no one moves. Then the German officer notices the stripes on Funk's sleeve. First sergeant, a leader, a prize. The officer strides forward and jams an MP-40 into Funk's stomach. He screams. Funk doesn't understand a word. The officer screams again, louder. Funk looks around. 90 enemies, 4 captured Americans, 1 other American beside him. No cover, no support. The math is impossible. Any rational man would surrender, but Funk remembers Malmedy. 84 Americans murdered in a field, men shot after surrendering, left to freeze. He has already decided he will never surrender. So Leonard Funk starts laughing. Not a chuckle, a full laugh. The German officer recoils. This makes no sense. Funk laughs harder. He bends slightly at the waist. His shoulders shake. He calls out in English, "I don't understand what he's saying." Some of the German soldiers begin to laugh too. Nervous laughter, confused laughter. The officer turns purple with rage. This American is mocking him. For a few seconds, the officer hesitates, and those seconds are everything. Still laughing, Funk slowly reaches for his Thompson. It's slung over his shoulder, standard paratrooper carry. The officer watches. Good, the American is surrendering his weapon. Funk's hand closes on the grip. He unslings the gun slowly, carefully. Then everything explodes. In one motion, Funk snaps the Thompson forward and squeezes the trigger. The M1A1 fires at 600 rounds per minute. At this range, every bullet is fatal. The first burst hits the officer square in the chest. 30 rounds in less than 3 seconds. The officer is dead before he hits the snow. Funk keeps firing. He pivots, sweeping the nearest Germans. Men scream, men fall. Blood sprays across white snow. Steam rises from hot brass casings. The magazine runs dry. This is the moment where men die. 2 seconds to reload. 2 seconds is an eternity. Funk yanks the empty magazine free, slams a fresh one home, racks the bolt, keeps firing. All muscle memory, all instinct. At the same time, he's screaming, "Grab their weapons!" The 4 guards dive for dropped rifles. Seconds ago, they were prisoners. Now they're soldiers again. They fire. The Germans are in chaos. Their officer is dead. No one gave orders for this. Some shoot wildly. Bullets crack past Funk's head. One American beside him is killed instantly. Funk doesn't stop. He moves, shoots, kills. The yard becomes a slaughterhouse. The Germans break. Hands go up. Weapons hit the ground. In less than a minute, it's over. 21 Germans lie dead. 24 are wounded. More than 40 surrender again. The snow is soaked red. Leonard Funk stands in the center of it, smoke curling from his Thompson, bodies everywhere. He looks at his men. That
he says calmly, was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
The aftermath is almost quiet. Company C secures Holzheim without further resistance. The surviving German prisoners are marched to the rear under heavy guard. This time there is no chance of escape. Leonard Funk reports the incident to his commanding officer. Just facts, no embellishment, no drama. But the story spreads anyway, through the regiment, through the division, across the 82nd Airborne. The sergeant who laughed at 90 Germans, the man who turned surrender into slaughter. When the Medal of Honor recommendation reaches Washington, no one argues. There are eyewitnesses, there are bodies, there is no dispute. The citation is blunt. A German officer shoved a machine pistol into his stomach and ordered him to surrender. Although overwhelmingly outnumbered and facing almost certain death, First Sergeant Leonard Funk pretended to comply. He unslung his submachine gun and with lightning speed killed the German officer. Then he turned his weapon on the remaining enemy soldiers, firing and shouting to his men to seize their weapons. 21 enemy soldiers were killed. The rest surrendered. September 5, 1945, the White House. President Harry Truman places the Medal of Honor around Leonard Funk's neck. "I would rather have this medal than be President of the United States," Truman says. That sentence matters. It comes from the most powerful man on earth, the man who authorized the end of World War II, the man shaping the post-war world. Looking at a 5'5" former store clerk and saying, "You did something I could never do." Let's take inventory. Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Bronze Star, 3 Purple Hearts, foreign decorations from France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Leonard Funk is the most decorated paratrooper of World War II. Then the war ends, and Funk goes home. He does not write a book, he does not go on speaking tours, he does not turn his medals into money. He returns to Pennsylvania and takes a job with the Veterans Administration. A desk, paperwork, helping other veterans navigate the system. The same quiet work he did before the war. For 27 years, Leonard Funk sits behind that desk. He rises to become a division chief in the Pittsburgh regional office. He earns a steady paycheck, a pension. He marries. He and his wife Gertrude raise 2 daughters. They live in a working-class neighborhood. The Medal of Honor sits in a case somewhere. Most people never see it. When people ask about Holzheim, Funk shrugs. Did what I had to do. That's all he ever says. November 20th, 1992. Braddock Hills, Pennsylvania. Leonard Alfred Funk Jr. dies of cancer. He is 76 years old. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, Section 35, grave 23734. At the time of his death, he is the last surviving Medal of Honor recipient from the 82nd Airborne Division in World War II. A fitness center at Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty, is named after him. A highway in Pennsylvania bears his name. A post office in McKeesport is dedicated to him in 2023. And still, most people have never heard of Leonard Funk. They know Audie Murphy. They know Alvin York. They do not know the short paratrooper who laughed at 90 Germans. Here is what Leonard Funk's story tells us. War does not favor the biggest. It does not favor the strongest. It does not favor the fearless. War favors the man who keeps thinking when everyone else freezes. At Holzheim, Funk had every reason to surrender. 90-1, a gun in his stomach, his men already captured. Any rational person would have given up. But Funk was not thinking about math. He was thinking about Malmedy, about men murdered after surrendering, about what would happen if those 90 Germans hit his company from behind. So he laughed. Maybe as a tactic, maybe from stress, maybe because the situation was absurd. And while the German officer hesitated, Funk moved. 60 seconds later, he was alive when he should have been dead. There is a quote often attributed to Harry Truman. "I would rather have this medal than be President of the United States. He said it to Leonard Funk, September 5th, 1945. Think about that. The most powerful man on earth, looking at a former store clerk from Pennsylvania and saying, "You did something I could never do."